Everyone, welcome to VRC with Gaurav. In this video, we are going to solve RC passage number 9 from the book RC 99 by Aristotle Prep. As usual, I recommend that you pause the video here, read the entire passage, jot down your answers, use the timestamp that I've put in the description box, jot down your answers, then come back to this point to check whether you have got it right or not. And if you have any problem with the comprehension of the passage, of course, you can go through this part also. One important thing I would like to tell, when you start the passage, make sure that you start or keep a timer or a basic mobile stopwatch going on. It's always a good idea to track your timings, especially with respect to such good quality passages. Beyond accuracy, it's also necessary that you also take a look at the amount of time it took you to reach there. Okay? Anyway, without any delay, let's get started. Okay. Now, coming to the passage, quality is excellent. Context is definitely completely American in nature. So might give a bit of trouble for some new people, for people who are not accustomed to, or people who are not knowledgeable about how Americans think or how things go on over there. Okay. So one half of people, it is my rough guess that 50% aspirant might find this passage pretty doable. Agree with the part that it has been kept in the easy section of the book, while the rest 50% might struggle a bit with this passage. So it is advisable that if you fall in that category, if your accuracy has been very poor, so I would recommend that you follow what I am trying to explain to you here. Okay, chalo. So the author starts off the narrative by mentioning a chemical by the name of LR. Okay, now it is LR, LR, I don't know. Let's not fixate on the pronunciation. LR. Okay. So what has happened is this chemical is used in growing apples. All right. Okay, fair enough. But what happened is it turned out that possibly this chemical is harmful in nature. So what we have is very well-known celebrities like Meryl Streep. She is actually very famous actress in USA, at least USA. Okay. So along with Meryl Streep, such a reputed celebrity, the media also they started making a huge bombshell or huge narrative or huge amount of uh, masala hawa, what we call it in Hindi. Okay, please pardon my slang language. But yes, a lot of fear mongering or a lot of panic started because people like Meryl Streep are raising the issue. Also, media is fanning those fears that has been given to us. The press fanned public fears. Now, fan का meaning यहाँ पे होता है बढ़ावा देना. Okay, it is like giving fresh air to a fire which is already present. So what will happen? The fire will spread, right? As it gets more and more oxygen. Same thing. So what happened because of this fear mongering is that people started rushing and started pulling the apples out of kids' hands. So this is obviously a metaphor, not to be taken very literally. But what does this mean is, as given in the first paragraph, I'm underlining this part. It means that people started saying, "Bhai, apple khana bahut dangerous hai." Okay, please stop eating apples. It has LR used in it. This is so harmful. Blah blah blah. All right. Okay. And all of this is happening here comes the surprise of the situation, that all this has happened even before scientists have established properly the extent of harm or the level of damage caused by this chemical. Scientists are still divided over whether this chemical is harmful or not, or even if it is harmful, the scale of its harm. Okay, we have this very common saying in English. Okay, it's the dose that makes the poison. Okay, frankly speaking, almost everything is dangerous to consume. It's the amount of dose, it's the amount of quantity that we eat determines whether it ends up harming us or not. Okay, chalo. So given this context, okay, so in the first paragraph, author has given us a clear-cut situation which has already happened in the past, that a lot of fear mongering happened around LR, this chemical. People started saying, "Bhai, apple si mat khao," which is such a common fruit. An apple a day keeps a doctor away, right? So, and all of this panic, all of this fear mongering is happening even before it has been credibly established whether it is genuinely harmful or not, and if it is harmful, in what quantities. Okay, it's essentially emotionally driven panic and no scientific basis to it regarding the situation of LR. Okay. Why is the author narrating this story to us? The situation is very simple. The example, the experience. Because of that, author is saying nobody wants to emulate or nobody wants such a scenario to repeat again. Okay, the kind of panic which happened around LR, he starts off that by saying this in the opening sentence of second paragraph. Okay, now he says, but a similar situation can potentially happen in about chemicals like dioxin. Okay. Now, whether this is a single chemical by the name of dioxin or maybe it is a family of chemicals that we are not sure about, but ठीक है. Author is saying जैसा LR के साथ में हुआ वैसा ही dioxin के साथ हो सकता है. How so? Because this chemical ends up getting concentrated in fat-rich foods. And irony or let us say most surprising thing is कहाँ मिल जाएगा ये आपको? Humans breast milk, basically mother's milk that is given to infants, that is consumed by babies. Okay, now here is the irony. We say that mother's milk is the best for a baby, no better nutrition than that. But now speculation or perhaps a suspicion is going on that a harmful chemical might be present in that milk through some kind of chemical process, possibly. Maybe the mother is eating something, some food product, which eventually finds its way into the milk being provided to infants. Okay. Now, author is trying to hint, okay, that जैसा सोसाइटी ने, जैसे मीडिया ने एलआर के अगेंस्ट बवाल मचाया था, people started saying कि भाई एप्पल्स ही मत खाओ. Now, dude, are you going to start say that infant should not be given breast milk? Is that the case? Okay. Now, everyone agrees. Author goes on to say that everybody agrees, including the EPA and most everyone else would agree that yeah, mother's milk is the best for babies. Then what do we do? Okay. And even if this were not enough, now one more hysteria, one more panic has started that this chemical, this dioxin, possibly poses a threat to human fertility, basically reproductive ability of human beings. Okay, आ गया टेंशन के दो बड़े बड़े रीजन. दिस डायोक्सिन, this is a dangerous chemical, harmful chemical, and it is already present in mother's milk, and it is getting, it is finding its way to infants who are basically defenseless. Okay, a baby who has just been born 3 4 5 6 months old possibly, so reaching infants. Okay, so mother's milk, which is ideally considered as the best thing that can be given, and now it is being said that it is also harmful to human fertility. Okay, okay, all right. So author says ये तो कितना बड़ा चिंता का विषय हो गया, such a massive stress causing thing to the government, to government agencies, to officials. What do we do now? Okay, now in the third paragraph, that is the question author is raising. Let's mark it using a different color. Okay, okay. बट ऑथर सेज बट यार देखो ये सब स्पेक्यूलेशन है फिलहाल. राइट नाउ वी डोंट हैव कंक्लूसिव एविडेंस. इट इज नॉट 100% established confidently that okay, dioxin definitely very harmful or might not be, maybe it's all just a fluke. So till then, what should be done? What should policymakers do? What should government do? So in such an unclear scenario, whether the chemical is harmful or not, madness has already started. What kind of madness are we talking about here? Let's highlight that line. Attempts to whipsaw public opinion, they have already started. There's actually a question going to arrive on this sentence. I'll explain more in detail of what this sentence means at that juncture, and then you'll be able to understand what this sentence actually means. Till then, let's move a little ahead. And what is given to us is that देखो, regarding this fear mongering about chemicals like dioxin, clear-cut polarization, clear-cut two opposite camps have gotten created. On one side, you have people who speak on behalf of companies, who try to defend companies who might be using this in their food products, dioxins. So these corporate lobbyists, basically people who are on the side of companies, they say that कि भाई देखो, जब तक clear cut established नहीं हो जाता whether this thing is harmful or not, please let it continue. Please do not take any knee-jerk reaction. Okay. And on the other hand, author says that there are environmentalists who are arguing that no, boss, this is too big a risk. No, I don't want to take. What if it turns out that it is genuinely harmful? तो आप वो प्रूव होने के बाद में बैन करोगे क्या? तब तक तो lot of damage will already be done. So please ban it right away. I want it stopped right now here. Okay. So what is the big issue here? Why is it such a sensitive topic, or why is it worth debating, discussing? The issue is that these chemicals are practically found everywhere. Okay, practically found everywhere. Now it is possible that it is present in the everyday fruits, vegetables, maybe even the grains that we eat, or maybe the bread that we eat, anything. Okay, so from this it is clear that something which affects everybody, uske around ek debate shuru ho chuka hai. Some people say that okay, these chemicals extremely harmful. Some people are saying no, it's not yet proven. Let's not jump to any conclusions. Okay, all right. Moving ahead, fourth paragraph, amazing, amazing. If even if you have a little bit of curiosity based angle na inclination, बहुत अच्छा है fourth paragraph. Now, most of these chemicals, what is the main element present in those? Chlorine. Okay, all right, chlorine is present. Now, Greenpeace, which is actually a very famous organization which tries to advocate for human safety, also animals का safety, everything. So Greenpeace is saying कि भाई देखो बैन ही कर दो यार, मतलब क्लोरीन को ही उठा के बैन कर दो, नो यूजिंग क्लोरीन एनीवे. ऑथर सेज ठीक है, सुनने पर तो बहुत अच्छा लगता है, सच अ सिंपल स्टेटमेंट. It is known that chlorine is harmful to us, chlorine is present in these chemicals, but naturally these chemicals might be very harmful to us, so ban it, simple. No, things are not as straightforward. Why? Because doing this knee jerk reaction of banning chlorine based chemicals or even chlorine itself, economically wrenching for companies and consumers alike. मतलब economically point of view, financial point of view, it's going to be disastrous. That if you take a chemical which is present everywhere and say कि ये कल से use नहीं होगा, तो बिना alternative provide किए you cannot ban something, right? Okay. Tomorrow if it turns out that the wheat that all of India that has been consuming, this wheat is completely kharab. Nobody should start or eat wheat any longer. Okay, gehu that I'm talking about. Okay, so yeah, until and unless an alternative to wheat is provided, how can you overnight provide a ban, right? Even if you do, it will create economic destruction, clear cut. Amazing. I mean, आप सोच सकते हो कितनी दिक्कत तैयार हो जाएगी. Okay, mind blowing. Same thing about this author is trying to put before us. ठीक है, even if chlorine is harmful, even if such chemicals are harmful before us, till we have a proper solution in place, till we have a proper analysis done of the extent of harm, let's not get into knee-jerk reactions like the type which Greenpeace is suggesting. Okay, all right, moving ahead. So to enforce this point, to give example that okay, author is saying कि भाई देखो मैं गलत नहीं हूँ, मैं थोड़ा सोच समझ के ही बात कर रहा हूँ. Author is mentioning some risk analysis experts before us, and he decides to quote a woman over here by the name of Tammy Tengs. Okay. What is this woman saying? She is a public health specialist at Duke University. Okay. Tammy Tengs is worried that ये इमोशनल बवाल जो हो रहा है, this panic that is spreading around, driven by fear mongering around some chemicals, what it will lead to is people will start panicking, people will start pressuring government, and it will lead to some nonsensical steps getting taken. Okay, which obviously is not good. Governments, policy makers are expected to act rationally, not emotionally. Okay, and now why is Tammy Tanks critical of this fear mongering? What does she say? She says this last two lines over here in the fourth paragraph. Amazing. What is given to us? That when you spend money in one particular place, पैसा तो limited है ना, आपके पास हो या government के पास हो. If the government decides to invest it in a particular place A, obviously place B either will get reduced funds or no funds at all. Example given to us is beautiful. What is it? That let's take a case of government having some money to save people from different diseases. Now, if you take into account tuberculosis, which is very widely present, dangerous disease, of course. Now, if you want to extend a person's life who is suffering from TB, from tuberculosis, so the cost to the government would be less than $10,000. So let's plot it down here and understand what Tammy Tangs is trying to tell us. $10,000, if government spends it, one person suffering from tuberculosis will have one more year to their life. Sounds legit, right? We are talking about human life, which is very precious. And if you can spend this amount and help people live longer, good. Okay. On the other side, you have some diseases which are caused by chemicals like asbestos. Okay. Now, asbestos genuinely known to be something pretty harmful. लेकिन एस्बेस्टॉस की वजह से आपको जो हेल्थ कॉम्प्लिकेशन आते हैं, whether it causes some kind of cancer or whether it causes some kind of other diseases, if we want to extend that patient's life by 1 year, it ends up costing how much? $2 million. Just a moment, I think I have written it wrong. Okay, very really my bad. Okay. $2 million American way of writing it. like this. Okay. Now, if you do the maths, it is tuberculosis versus asbestos के ऊपर जो खतरा है, this is literally 200 times, which is mind blowing that if government decides to go ahead, Tamitings is trying to portray the picture clearly before us that if the government decides to go ahead and save people suffering from asbestos related disease, it means 200 people suffering from tuberculosis lose out on their game, है ना? एक इंसान को बचाने जाएगी गवर्नमेंट एस्बेस्टोस की बीमारी से जो सफर कर रहा है, 200 people suffering from tuberculosis will not be able to get those funds. So where should our efforts be directed? Author and Tamitings are clearly painting the picture before us that boss, situation is clear over here. Please invest more money or focus on the more prominent problem at hand. Do not get swayed in fear mongering around minute cases like asbestos poisoning. ठीक है? So this is a bit of background knowledge that is needed. Now, if you're not aware of what the hoopla or what the noise around asbestos is, how harmful it is, or what the context regarding asbestos is, might be a bit difficult to understand this paragraph or the statement, this portrayal which Tamitings is putting before us, and by extension, of course, the author. Okay? So I hope that this part is clear to you. Author is clear cut suggesting that there are some borderline cases, there are some very few cases around such minute incidences, asbestos poisoning, or maybe let us say problem created by LR or dioxin. तो इनकी तरफ जब आपका ध्यान चले जाता है, so you are spending less money, less attention, less time on the more critical problems that you have on hand. Example, tuberculosis versus asbestos. ठीक है? So this kind of benefit versus risk analysis, author says, it is rarely present in government decisions. होता क्या है, when government policy makers are making decision, deciding what to do next, these guys are not able to make decisions so objectively. They get swayed by emotional fear mongering and everybody's lost. ठीक है? Now coming to the closing remarks of the paragraph, where the author makes his stance super clear. He is saying, he is quoting a Harvard person, okay, John Graham, who is a Harvard person. John Graham is saying कि देखो, आप जब decide करते हो ना कि I am going to tackle one particular threat. Let us say in this case, if government goes ahead and say कि हाँ चलो हम डायोक्सिन के खिलाफ लड़ेंगे, डायोक्सिन से जो दिक्कत तैयार होती है उसको हम रोकने की कोशिश करेंगे. We'll try to stop problem caused by dioxin. What happens? Author says all our attention, all our money will get diverted toward this borderline case. And why is he putting it down? Why is he calling it a borderline case, not giving it due importance? Because it is still scientifically unclear how much harmful dioxins actually are. While on the other hand, you have genuine threats present in the society, actual solid problems which you should be tackling. Example, tuberculosis, or example of a mother has been given over here. The very last sentence is the final death nail on the coffin. That Mr. Graham, Harvard person, is saying, and of course by extension author supports it. It's a shame when a mother worries about toxic chemicals, example dioxin, and yet at that very moment her kids outside are running around without bicycle helmets and without vaccines in the first place. Kids are unvaccinated, kids don't have bicycle helmet. भाई आप डर रहे हो एक छोटे से केमिकल को लेके कि अच्छा whether this chemical is going in my children's mouth, in my children's bodies or not. Dude, your kid right out there, he is riding his bicycle without a helmet in heavy traffic. गिर गया, सिर फूट गया, तो क्या करोगे आप? Right? So where your attention should actually be, your attention should be on such prominent super solid threats rather than probabilistic scenario like dioxin ka may be koi problem. So author has made his stand very clear over here. I am going to round off the passage now. I hope the explanation is clear to you. That the problem, the hysteria, the fear mongering around such minute cases is really bad for society. It takes our attention, it takes our money away from really important other problems where we should be focusing. Examples like tuberculosis, examples like children being vaccinated or unvaccinated. These should be the primary area of focus rather than some possible threat scenarios. And he has used a very good word to highlight this before us: phantom risks and real risks. Phantom risks are maybe उनका खतरा है, and real risks are, dude, your kid is unvaccinated, हो जाएगी बीमारी कोई खतरनाक. Okay, so the author's stand is very clear. You can, wrap up the passage very concisely in just one single sentence. Author recommends not getting swayed by fear mongering which might be created by media or some celebrities. Please spend time, let scientists do their job of figuring out how much of a threat something is. That's it. Okay. So with that in mind, let's go to the questions now. If you have any doubt with respect to passage ka comprehension, any part in the passage which I might have forgotten to touch upon and which is unclear to you still, let me know in the comment section. Okay. More than glad to help you out. By the way, please hit the like, share, and subscribe button. Very glad if you would be able to do it. Now, what the first question before us is, let's take a look. I'll close off my camera here. As you can see, my video is covering the content. Okay. All right. Coming to the questions now. If it appeared in an article, author will support which of these statements? Imagine karna hai that all these 5 statements have been given in some magazine. Author will support which statement? Okay. Option A dekhte hain. Asbestos and radon have caused serious health problems in past that many government officials chose to ignore. Okay. Is the author going to support this? I don't think so. Because he has clearly gone ahead in the penultimate paragraph and bashed the government or bashed people who are creating hysteria around asbestos poisoning and stuff like this. Clear cut author is saying कि यार वो borderline cases है. Do you save one person or do you save 200 people? Okay, not cool, right? So that is why option A, author will not support. Okay, coming to option B, dioxin is the foremost threat to human fertility, needs to be addressed in order to prevent serious health problems in the future. This is the stand of maybe people who are going to be fear mongering, maybe environmentalists, people like that. Is the author in their team? Definitely not. Author is clear cut on the side of scientists who want to do proper scientific evaluation before putting a ban on chemicals like dioxins. Okay? So once again, author will not support this, does not become the answer. A and B both get rejected. Option E also in similar line like A and B. Mayor of a city has decided to ban dioxin by industry. Dude, proof to hone do dioxin harmful hai ya nahi. Author will also not support this outright ban. Okay. Option C and D. Let's evaluate the third option. Environmental groups and corporate lobbyists often take polarized stances. यहाँ तक एकदम बढ़िया है ये option. The second half is where option C completely falters. What does it say? Eventually are modified by governmental agency. Wait, what? What does it mean? What kind of stances is government modifying? No, nowhere it is written. Author has clearly implied that a lot of polarized instances happen. Environmentalists say कि ban करो जल्दी से, कॉर्पोरेट लॉबिस्ट से नहीं नहीं भाई रुक जाओ यूज करने दो, एंड इस बीच में गवर्नमेंट कहीं तो फंस जाती है, एंड दैट इज द एंटायर फोकस ऑफ द डिस्कशन अकॉर्डिंग टू द ऑथर. ऑप्शन सी सेकंड हाफ इज कंप्लीटली आउट ऑफ स्कोप, not warranted. Author also will not support. Option D obviously wins the game here. क्या लिखा है? Thorough research and investigation should be performed by government before any unnecessary hysteria spreads through the public. Absolutely on the point. कि पब्लिक में बवाल, पब्लिक में डर फैलने के पहले यार आप लोग अपनी रिसर्च अच्छे से करके रखो. ठीक है, एंड दैट स्ट्रॉन्ग comment, that strong recommendation also is coming from the author in this part. Let me highlight here. Last paragraph I am highlighting. Author is clear cut written over here कि देखो यार तुम EPA वाले agency which is raising the fears or pointing to the dangers of dioxin, dude, you need to communicate the pros and cons. You need to communicate your findings clearly to the public. Do not raise hoopla, do not raise fears, do not raise bawal around this. Do not create fear mongering. Please put it before the public in a very objective, safe and sane manner. Okay? So obviously option D becomes the answer. Still, if you have any doubt, let me know in the comment section. Would be glad to help you out. And now let's go to the second question. Okay, a bit easy actually. Question 2. According to the passage, what? It is dangerous to react drastically to recently posed health hazards except for all the given reasons except. So what does it mean? That you have some bawal going on around dioxins, also around LR and maybe chlorine also. So 4 reasons have been given to not fall prey to this fear mongering. ओके, डरो मत, ये जो बवाल क्रिएट हुआ है, ये जो फियर मॉन्गरिंग चल रही है, इसके खिलाफ ऑथर ने कौन से रीजंस दिए हैं? What does the author say that okay, these are the reasons that you should not fall prey to such fear mongering? Okay, one by one, let's see. The one option which does not fall in line with this four obviously becomes the answer because it is written over here except. Okay, option A, proven precautions are overlooked. Yes, this is mentioned over here in the last paragraph. Proven precautions, kids riding without bicycle helmet, kids running around unvaccinated. Okay, so these are the precautions which every mother, which every child should be, advised, that you have to be vaccinated, that you have to wear helmets. But no, the mother is sitting in one side and wondering, "Arey yaar, dioxins. Oh my God, my kids are safe or unsafe because of it." Dude, where is your attention? So this has been given by the author in the passage that when you focus your attention on such minuscule fears, minuscule issues, you tend to miss out on the larger picture over there. ठीक है? ये जो सॉरी जॉन ग्राहम ने जो स्टेटमेंट दिया है लास्ट पैराग्राफ में, आई रिकमेंड दैट यू go through it. Compete not only for our resources but also for our attention. So yes, this is given and hence will not be the answer. B, public fear leads to irrational action. Definitely given over here in the fourth paragraph. Public fear caused by agencies like Greenpeace, and now Greenpeace is saying by chlorine ban kar do. अरे यार ऐसा थोड़ी होता है. This is such an irrational action. How will people manage them? Do you have a substitute in place? We don't yet. Okay, so option B also given in the passage. This is a legit reason why author opposes haphazard or reckless banning of chemicals. Okay, let me jump options. Option E, emotion should not be allowed to overtake common sense. 100% bang on point. I'll underline over here, emotion rather than common sense will drive the political process. And author as well as Tammy Tanks both are not happy with this. Policy making, decision making should be very objective in nature. So yes, this is also given and hence will not be the answer. Okay. D, economic burdens can occur. 100%. Okay. Written over here in the fourth paragraph, economically wrenching for companies and consumers alike. Economic burden, problems, financial problems will occur. This is also given. So which answer becomes very easy actually. Insurance premium will increase. Where the hell is insurance talked about in the entire passage at all? Not a single mention anywhere. So this was actually a very straightforward uh, database question, which ideally you should have been able to answer correctly. Still, अगर आपको दिक्कत गई, तो this is how you should be able to crack the questions. Okay. Anyway, if you have any doubt, please drop it in the comment section. Mention the timestamp if you have any problem with a specific statement of mine. I'll try to help you out at my earliest. Okay. Coming to question 3. Yes, I had told you during the passage explanation that we'll come to this part and I'll explain this to you in detail then. Okay. It's in the third paragraph over here. I am pointing it using my green arrows. Predictably, attempts to whipsaw public opinion have already begun. And why is the author using this? What does he mean when he says this? Whipsaw public opinion. And you have been given 5 possible explanation, 5 possible synonyms to whipsaw public opinion. Okay. So how do you crack it? Obviously, we don't know rare words such as whipsaw over here. Okay. तो बहुत बेसिक अप्रोच है. What you should do is replace whipsaw public opinion, cut this out and replace it with options one at a time. मतलब how do you have to read? Let me put it before you. Option A, changing needs of community. I will take this and I will substitute it here and then try to read what is given. ठीक है? But before that, one important thing you have to keep in mind. You have to read what is given before this yellow highlighted statement and also what the narrative is after that. Only then you will be able to figure out कि अच्छा ठीक है, यहाँ पर author ने जो बोला वो क्यों बोला, what he is trying to say in this part. You'll be able to get it only if you take the preceding and the succeeding part into account. ठीक है. Now let me do the substitution thing. Changing needs of community goes here. How does it read then? Predictably, attempts to change the needs of the community have already begun. Wait, what? What? What is mentioned after that? Corporate lobbyists are saying put action on hold. Environmentalists are saying nahi, nahi, ban it immediately. Problem is that the chemicals are found everywhere. So in such a scenario, in such a context, why are we discussing about changing needs of the community? What kind of needs are we talking about? What kind of change is being talked about? Nothing. Okay. What we are discussing is the harm of some chemicals and whether they should be allowed to go on or not. Option A is completely ridiculous and we can throw it out very, very confidently. Okay. Let me jump options. Okay. D, acting irrationally wala part. Predictably, attempts to act irrationally in response to government policies have already begun. What does this mean? Option D we are discussing that attempts are already started in society to make people start acting irrationally in response to what government has decided to do. Wait a minute. Has the government decided yet what to do? No. The problem is policymakers are still confused about what they should be doing. Okay. So government has not taken any finite step till now. So no question of responding to government action in any manner arises. Obviously, option D thrown out. Okay. Option C is also out of scope. How would the sentence read with option C getting substituted here? Let me read it for you. Predictably, attempts to offer a variety of alternatives for health hazards have already begun. Wait a minute. What alternatives are we talking about? Alternatives to dioxin or any other health hazard, they are not discussed anywhere in the passage. This paragraph is still in the process of discussing whether to continue dioxins or whether to ban it. Some people are saying, corporate lobbyists saying, let it continue, environmentalists saying, please ban ASAP. No alternatives still in the picture. That is why option C also tata bye. Okay. Option E and B actually a bit close enough because in both cases citizens are being convinced to do something. दोनों भी ठीक है, but option B is a far better substitute in the part that has been discussed. Okay, what is the author discussing over here? Let me substitute option B over there. Attempts to convince citizens to take a polarized stance have already begun. What is meant by polarized stance actually? Polarized stance means कि दो एक्सट्रीम में से कोई तो एक पोजीशन आप ले लो. Either you support it or you criticize it. There is no neutral ground. Okay. Polarized stances, polarized viewpoint on specifically health hazards. Amazing, good. And that actually is the discussion, is the focus of this third paragraph. That on one side you have corporate lobbyists who are saying no, 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 support, support, let the chemical continue, let it continue. On other hand, you have environmentalists who are madly shouting that no, no, ban it right now, ban it right now, I want this gone. And attempts to convince public to take side of either corporate lobbyists or environmentalists, they have already begun. People are being told कि नहीं ये दो में से कोई एक साइड आप ले लो. अरे यार, पब्लिक को तो पता ही नहीं पूरा पिक्चर क्या है. That is what this paragraph is discussing. And author is highlighting that this issue is genuinely tough because the chemicals are really found everywhere. So some people bound to get scared. Some people bound to question कि भाई अगर ये चले गया तो अब करेंगे क्या? Okay. So yes, option B is a far superior option when we compare it to option E. Option E may, yes, I understand that if the public were to take one of the polarized stances, if the public decide to support the corporate guys or if they decide to support environmentalists, that situation would be a case of lacking in common sense. Okay? But public is not being actively told to कि भाई चलो तुम ना common sense वाले decision मत लो. You take decisions which are without common sense. ऐसा थोड़ी कोई आप जाके आप किसी को बोलने वाले हो. Attempts to convince citizens to take decisions lacking in common sense. You will not do and tell them that. If you are somebody from corporate, you will try to convince them ASAP. You will not say कि मैं जो बोल रहा हूँ वो घटिया बात है. nor will you as an environmentalist go and tell citizens that boss, please support me, we want to ban these chemicals, but this demand is lacking in common sense. Will you do that? No, that will be like digging your own grave, na? So option E also gets kicked out. Okay? If the public ends up supporting or opposing it without having credible information in hand, then that would be a case of lacking common sense. But actively, nobody is being told that boss, what you are doing is lack of common sense. Bit complex to understand this question. So even if you got it wrong, बहुत ज़्यादा load मत लो, चलता है. Once while not getting such questions correct is completely fine. Come to question 4. Finally, a good quality question. Primary aim of the passage is what? What is the author trying to tell us throughout this narrative? Here, he started off by mentioning LR, then he is discussing at length about dioxins, and he's already also mentioning this last closing remarks in this part over here of the passage. Very, very powerful. That आसान भाषा में आई विल यूज हिंदी ओवर हियर, काम की बातों पे ध्यान दो. ओके, फालतू की बकवास पे ध्यान मत दो. That is what author is trying to say. I am speaking in a very unfiltered manner, but that is what is highlighted in the last sentence. And a mother is worrying about dioxin when her kids are unvaccinated and kids are running around without helmet. Are you a stupid person? What are the chances of the kid suffering serious injury or suffering serious harm from lack of vaccines or from lack of helmet or from a presence of dioxin in the diet? Doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out, है ना? So what the answer option here is going to be very straightforward. Option C, to argue that problems associated with dioxins may have been overestimated. Absolutely, बहुत अच्छा probabilistic touch यहाँ पे दिया है, may have been. Nowhere is the author in the entire paragraph saying with 100% confidence कि सब लोग पागल है, कुछ नहीं होता, डायोक्सिन अच्छी चीज है, सुपर सेफ है, कोई नुकसान नहीं होने वाला है. Author has not said this. Okay, so author is simply saying कि देखो, this chemical is practically found everywhere, ranging from human breast milk to some very common foods, present literally everywhere. So what we gotta do is, what we should do is calm the F down and just let scientists do their research to determine the extent of danger from dioxin. Case closed. Other option you should be able to reject very confidently if you have understood the narrative in the paragraph. Option A, strongly discourage use of dioxin by industry, but this is environmentalist stand, not others. To call for a ban on use of all dioxin, दंड लेके मारेगा author आपको. Okay. Option B, to carry out a cost benefit analysis of continued use of dioxin. This is something author would recommend. Okay. After reading the passage, option B answer कब हो सकता है? If the question were something like, what would the author most likely agree with? What would the author most likely suggest? तो क्या सजेस्ट करेंगे कि यार प्लीज जाओ ऑब्जेक्टिवली कॉस्ट बेनिफिट एनालिसिस करो फिर बात करेंगे. बट इज दैट द क्वेश्चन? नो, द क्वेश्चन इज प्राइमरी एम ऑफ पैसेज, मतलब पैसेज में ऑलरेडी कर क्या दिया जा चुका है. हैज द ऑथर डन द कॉस्ट बेनिफिट एनालिसिस कंप्लीटली बिफोर अस? नो, he is making a very solid case for it, but he has not done it. What would a cost benefit analysis look like? कि हमने 1000 लोगों की टेस्ट कंडक्ट की, उसमें से 500 people had some kind of dioxin present in their food, 500 did not have it. Then the cost that goes into removing dioxin from your food, maybe it is a very expensive procedure, तो उससे कितनी जान सेव हुई या फिर लोगों को डिसीज कितना कम हुआ, that would be the benefit versus the cost that was invested. तो इस तरीके से अगर कोई स्टडी मेंशन्ड होती पैसेज में, then option B could have been a good candidate, but remotely nothing like that is even present, hence it gets out. Okay. Option D, first half is like, okay, you could maybe agree up to this part, exaggerating, to assert that opponents of the use of dioxin are exaggerating the problem. यहाँ तक ठीक था. This part is where the option fails for their own benefit. Nowhere is the author implying that people who are opposed to dioxins, they have selfish motives behind it. They want to gain from this hysteria. Nowhere implied. इसलिए option D also out. ठीक है. So I hope that you understood all the 4 questions and the passage itself. If any doubt, please drop it in the comment section. More than glad to help you out. Thanks a lot for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please share with your other CAT aspirants, other friends who might be preparing for the exam. My name is Gaurav, and I coach students in CAT, SNAP, NMAT, and XAT exams, specifically or specially for VRC largely. And after these exams are done, I also mentor students in the GDPI process. Okay. So I'll see you in the next video. Tada, bye bye, and take care.